20 strangest birds in the world. Number 20. Tawny frogmouth. This bird, which somewhat resembles an owl, can camouflage itself by becoming perfectly still and shutting its eyes. They're located in Tasmania, Australia, and southern New Guinea. Number 19. Sword-billed hummingbird. This is the only species of bird that possesses a bill and tongue that is actually longer than the rest of its body. Its beak is so long it has to preen itself using its feet. It's found from Colombia and Bolivia to Venezuela and Ecuador. Number 18. Atwater's prairie chicken. Note the orange air sac. The males possess them, and they're inflated during the mating season, usually January through May. In 2014, only an estimated 260 of the birds remained, making them a highly endangered species. They're native to Louisiana and coastal Texas. Number 17. Sri Lanka frogmouth. As the name would suggest, these birds are endemic to Sri Lanka, as well as the western Ghats of South India. And they do have a somewhat frog-like appearance, if you notice. They're nocturnal critters and are difficult to spot when resting on tree branches because they resemble dried leaves. Number 16. Kagu. This bird can only be found in New Caledonia. That's a small island located east of Australia. Mating pairs are known to stay together for life and will occupy large territories, up to 60 acres in size. It's the only bird species that has small structures over the nasal openings, known as nasal cones. The structures likely evolved to keep dust and other particles from entering the nose. Number 15. Oilbird. This little bird is a nocturnal, cave-dwelling animal that thrives on fruit. Found in South America, it locates food by echolocation, not unlike bats and dolphins. So why is it called the oilbird? Well, the animal is so oily that they were once hunted down and boiled to use their oil as fuel. Number 14. Sleep flying birds. Now, we ran across this story on some strange behavior exhibited by our avian friends. It's been suspected for some time that birds can actually sleep while they're flying. Now, scientists have proof of the phenomenon. They monitored the brain waves of great frigate birds from the Galapagos over the course of 10 days. Turns out that the birds could be half asleep, but keep one eye open, literally, to keep watch for potential threats. Results showed that the test subjects slept for around 42 hours a day while flying, but when on land, they can sleep up to 12 hours a day. That would be one way to catch up on your sleep. Number 13. Kiwi. The flightless bird is a close relation to the emu and is similar in size to a chicken. Did you know this bird lays the largest eggs of any bird species in the world? That's in relation to its body size. It's a national symbol of New Zealand, and of course, Kiwi is a colloquial term for New Zealanders. But we bet you already knew that. Number 12. Rhinoceros hornbill. Similar in size to a swan, this is one of the largest hornbills and is hunted for its feathers and meat. They're known to live in captivity for around 90 years. Does the coloration of that rhino horn remind you a bit of the toucan? Number 11. Blue-footed booby. Can you guess why they're referred to as blue-footed? The males initiate a mating ritual by strutting about in front of the females. Because the brightness of their feet tends to decrease with age, females normally mate with younger males with brighter feet, which indicate higher fertility. They're found in tropical regions of the Pacific Ocean. Number 10. Resplendent quetzal. Found between western Panama and southern Mexico, this bird is well known for its vibrant plumage. The bird's large eyes can adapt to the dim light of the forest habitat. Did you know the bird's thick plumage evolved to protect its fragile skin? And it is the national bird of Guatemala. Number 9. Hoatzin. This pheasant-sized bird is endemic to the Amazon and Orinoco deltas of South America, and while it is beautiful, it's also known as the stink bird due to their manure-like odor, and that's the result of the way food ferments in the animal's digestive system. When they're chicks, the birds are noted for having 2 claws on each wing, which are used to scramble about tree branches without dropping into the water. Number 8. Roseate spoonbill. Notice the bill that resembles a spoon. The animal uses it to snatch small prey out of the water for its meals. Did you think it was a pink flamingo at first? They do share a similarity color-wise. Like the flamingo, the spoonbill's pink coloration is a result of their diet, which contain organic pigments called carotenoids. Number 7. Long wattled umbrella bird. So does it look like this bird is sporting a pompadour? Well, that distinguishing shape atop its head is actually called an erectile head crest, which tends to be a bit longer on the males. The males are also distinguished by a large throat wattle of feathers, which is always retracted during flight. You can find them in Colombia and Ecuador. Number 6. Philippine eagle. This raptor measures around 3 feet from the tip of its beak to its tail. In terms of length and wing surface, it's considered the world's largest extant eagle. The rare apex predator was once known as the Philippine monkey-eating eagle because it was thought to prey exclusively on monkeys. In fact, the bird is an equal opportunity predator, snatching whatever meat it can find, which does include the flesh of primates. Number 5. Cockapoo. This is the epitome of a rare bird. As of June 2016, only 123 of these animals were known to exist. What happened? Well, it evolved in New Zealand and had no natural predators there. When modern humans introduced predators like cats and rats to the region, the cockapoo was especially vulnerable. It's the heaviest and only flightless parrot in the world. They're known to breed on average only 3 times a decade, and only when the fruit of the rimu tree is abundant. And that might help to explain their small population too. Number 4. Greater adjutant. This massive creature is a member of the stork family and is found across Asia. Standing nearly 60 inches tall, they have a wingspan exceeding 98 feet. During the wintertime, they'll breed with each other as well as the spot-billed pelican and other large water birds, and the diet includes reptiles, rodents, and other birds. The name adjutant refers to their stiff manner of walking while on the ground. Number 3. Harpy eagle, also called the American harpy eagle. We're including it not because it's so strange, per se, but because it's so intimidating, we're scared to ignore it. This fearsome bird is the largest and most powerful raptor known in the Americas, and it's one of the largest extant eagles in the world. It's an apex predator that tends to favor sloths and monkeys, although they're known to go after larger prey like capybaras and deer. They have the largest talons of any living eagle, and have been documented lifting prey that equals their body weight, and that's around 15 pounds. Number 2. Shoebill stork. The bird's name is derived from its conspicuous shoe-shaped bill, and you could probably suss that out for yourself. It's kind of hard to miss. These birds can weigh over 15 pounds and have an imposing height of up to 60 inches, with a wingspan reaching over 8.5 feet. Ornithologists consider this species to be one of the 5 most desirable birds in Africa. They're found in swamps from Zambia to Sudan. Number 1. The magnificent frigate bird. Here's a bird with a most distinguished look. The large, lightly built seabird is noted for the male's impressive red throat sac, which it inflates as a means of attracting a mate during breeding season. It's found in the tropical Atlantic, as well as the Galapagos Islands. Did you know this bird is also known as the man-o'-war?